to our poster, Barriers to Engage Low-Skilled Adults in Educational Opportunities, A Global Perspective. My name is Abigail Helsinger, and my co-authors are Natasha M. Hicks, Megan Young, Oksana Ditker, Phyllis Cummins, and Takashi Yamashita. Let me introduce our poster. Strategies to engage middle-aged and older workers in adult education and training, or AET, often exclude low-skilled and subpopulations. The engagement of these subpopulations in AET is challenging as access, awareness, and program costs associated with these training opportunities often target highly skilled populations. The inequality in adult education and training participation warrants specific programs and strategies to address challenges low-skilled adult workers face in pursuing AET. The purpose of this study is to identify AET opportunities for low-skilled middle-aged and older adults, as well as highlight major barriers to engage and retain these subpopulations in adult education and training. For this project, we interviewed 36 key informants from several different countries, including Australia, Canada, Italy, Norway, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and the United States. We also conducted thorough document reviews. We particularly focused on barriers related to cost, language, access, and awareness. Adult students face multiple barriers to participation, which have been categorized as situational barriers, institutional barriers, and dispositional barriers. When we mention situational barriers, we're really talking about the cost of education, lack of time, lack of childcare, unavailability of transportation, and lack of support from family and friends. For example, we had a key informant from Australia who, regarding formal education for those aged 40 to 45, quoted, "Those people don't have the ability to change direction because if you want to do formal educational training in Australia, if you want to do university education, it's going to cost you, and it means withdrawing from the workforce." When we talk about institutional barriers, we're talking about time required to complete an educational program, courses that are scheduled at times that aren't convenient for adult learners, lack of information about educational programs, difficult enrollment processes, perhaps a lack of computer or internet access, and strict attendance requirements that, again, aren't flexible enough for our adult learners. One quote from a key informant was, "Older adults' access to technology and skills is actually quite limited." And finally, when we're looking at dispositional barriers, some examples include lack of confidence and ability, concern about being too old, being tired of school, lacking the enjoyment in studying. One specific example from a key informant reads, "Second chance learners, those learners who are returning to study after having a checkered history of learning in school, basically negative experiences of learning in school where they felt they were anything from, they had very negative perceptions of themselves as learners, that they were stupid, that they couldn't learn, they'd never been a good learner, they didn't have the skill or capabilities to learn," which is terrible to think that these people had held these, internal dialogues about their capacity to learn for so long. Another quote reads, "There are very few programs for people above the age of 45. Our results highlighted opportunities tailored to support adult workers in the pursuit of adult learning opportunities both domestically and internationally. Barriers including learning histories, lack of long-term person-centered support, as well as the role of multiple forms of learning, such as formal and informal learning, were identified. When we talk about different forms of learning, these really fall into three main categories. Formal learning results in recognized diploma or credential. Non-formal learning takes place in the workplace or in an educational setting, but does not typically lead to a formal credential. And informal learning takes place in everyday life and is not necessarily intentional, but contributes to an individual's knowledge and skills. An example of this might be reading the newspaper or reading a book. All three forms of learning should be available to adults of all ages to ensure they have access to learning opportunities that are comfortable and relevant. In summary, participating in adult education and training is critical to have skills demanded by employers. Lack of training opportunities for older workers may place them at a disadvantage. Recruitment efforts tailored to support underserved minority, middle-aged, and older adult workers are needed. Administrators should operate from an equity and inclusion lens, as individual experiences are not monolithic. And finally, to retain adult learners, multiple learning forms are necessary, including formal, non-formal, and informal learning. Thank you for visiting our poster.